Welcome to our August Coffee and EVs. It's got a small group this evening, so hopefully some folks will probably catch it up on the when we get it posted on YouTube. But we'll jump right in, and did send out some things about NEVI, so we'll talk about that briefly and then see if we've got any questions or comments on that. Here's somebody else joining.
Might want to explain what NEVI is to.
Yes. All right. And for those who aren't familiar, let me share my screen actually. A few things up. All right. So for those who aren't familiar with NEVI, NEVI is the National Electric Vehicle Infrastructure program put out by the feds under the Biden administration. And it was put on hold back after the Trump administration took office. Several states, or many states, were in the process of either installing or awarding contracts to install DC fast chargers around the country. But all those got put on hold, so the ones that weren't turned on have been waiting. And just last week, the Federal Highway Administration released new guidance for the states. So they made some changes to the program as far as the requirements and rules got tweaked, and the states have to submit a new application by September 10th for that funding. And so in this program, if you haven't heard the numbers, I mean, there's some really, the large states, of course, with larger interstate systems got large chunks of money, but West Virginia got about $45 million is what was awarded. So we are wanting to see West Virginia move forward with NEVI charging installation around the state. The original program restricted those chargers to along the interstate corridors, and they had to be within 1 mile of an interstate exit. So that's were some of the original requirements. And the what we've heard from WVDOT is that they're going to be sticking with those. And the sites that they had originally targeted will remain. So they're far enough along in site selection and the planning that they had done, making sure the site had, high power capacity available to the site, and amenities and parking and a host and all the different things that go into selecting a fast charging site, that they're probably going to stick with the sites that have been identified. And so what sites were identified, if you aren't familiar with those? The last update that they put out was in August of 2024, and it had a map and a list of locations. So according to the original plan, unless something changes, and we've been told that it probably won't, then these are the locations, there are 15 fast charging locations that they plan to install around the state. And it might be, well, you can see there's 3 around Charleston. We've got Elkview, South Charleston, and a little south of Charleston along on the interstate there. Huntington, Ripley, Parkersburg, Wheeling, Morgantown, Weston, Sutton, Lewisburg, Beaver, Tamarack, Princeton. And they've already put one in Tamarack recently at the Travel Plaza there. So that one, I'm wondering if they're going to also put in a NEVI station, or if they're going to use that existing station as NEVI. Not sure about that one. And then Martinsburg, they're dropping in a charger. So along all the interstates that cross West Virginia. Now, this is just phase 1. Phase 2 of this program, after they get all of phase 1 done, phase 2, they can move into installing fast chargers and level 2 stuff. They have more flexibility about where they put the stuff. So they're looking at things like state parks and college campuses and other areas around the state. And that's less set in stone. So there might be some flexibility in changing their ideas on that, or where specific things may go. They're not as far along in choosing those sites. So that's what we're looking at as far as charging. And these will all be a minimum of 4 charging stations per site, and a minimum of 150 kilowatts per plug. So that's what they're installing at a minimum.
Are these,
Any,
go ahead.
go ahead.
As I say, are these are any of these level twos? Or are they all
These are all fast chargers.
okay? So my
Yeah,
my plug-in hybrid wouldn't. None of these would do anything for me, right?
I think your generation of plug-in hybrid did not have fast charging capabilities. Don't believe. There are some hybrids that do have fast charging capabilities, but I don't believe your generation of Prius has those.
Okay.
But now phase two is where they would be potentially looking at doing level twos or other charging stations. So then that might be something that would benefit you, Thornton. So go ahead.
Second question is, how much does this over compete with, or is redundant, or will be redundant because of what the private sector's done, like for example, the Tesla charging stations, et cetera?
Tesla has stations also around the state in some of the same locations or same cities anyway. But not all of those Tesla charging stations are open to other vehicle manufacturers. So like one good example is the Sutton Flatwoods area, which is kind of a critical point going up 79.
Sure.
There is a new Tesla supercharger at Flatwoods, but it is not open to other manufacturers. So having something else there in Sutton will be a good place to have something. Even in Charleston, the supercharger that is in downtown Charleston, there are right off the boulevard, that charger isn't compatible with other manufacturers' vehicles. So there's nothing right in Charleston. So having this proposed charger in South Charleston, it says right off Montrose exit, that will be handy for other travelers coming through the Charleston area that aren't driving a Tesla.
Right.
Okay, so that's all the locations for phase one. I did, and I sent an email about this earlier. We did send, I drafted this letter and was sent to the WVDOT secretary yesterday, and copied the governor and secretary of tourism and the executive director of economic development.
Have you ever got a response from them?
I got an acknowledgement from the governor's office that they received it. So that's the only thing I've received so far.
Because I've called and talked to the secretary, the governor's secretary, and left a message. She promised she'd give it to him. I was complaining about the EV charging desert that West Virginia has.
Well, and speaking of that, these are just NEVI chargers. It's not all chargers, but you can see what the other states have done with NEVI and what West Virginia has not done.
Yeah, and they propose to, bring all kinds of business to West Virginia and be in competition with the rest of the states, and then they just let this advantage just drop away.
And, it's interesting, even other states, surrounding states with a conservative majority, say like Kentucky and Ohio, it's like, they haven't been shy about rolling fast chargers out.
I also wrote letters, emails to Perry J. Keller. He's supposed to be the guy that actually was in charge of the chargers.
Yeah.
And he did reply whenever I emailed him, but, he said he was just waiting to hear.
Well, I also emailed him after this news came out, and he pretty much said they were updating the existing plan. They were updating it based on the new guidelines, and that they would be getting it submitted for the September 10th deadline.
Yeah, I live in Wheeling, and I like to travel down to Hurricane to see my grandkids, and thank God that Ripley has those Tesla chargers there at the Sheets.
Mm-hmm.
That just gives me I can make it all the way, but it's nice to stop and get a coffee and, get some kilowatts and continue down the road.
Well, we're hoping that NEVI will bring us a lot more chargers in West Virginia beyond what Tesla has already done. And we do have some, not just Tesla, but there's been a few, not very many, but a few other DC fast chargers that have gone in. Actually, I have one here to talk about. This is also at Flatwoods. So moving on beyond NEVI, this is commercial charging. We've been waiting on this for a while because we knew Pilot had an agreement with General Motors to put in these EVgo stations. I think they're called EVgo. No, no, I misspoke. It is, yeah, Pilot Flying J, GM Energy. These 350 kilowatt chargers. So this is at the Pilot in Flatwoods on 79. And so the chargers are in the ground. They're not energized yet, but these pictures were just from, well, this is from August 9th. So yeah, about 10 days ago.
I stopped at Caldwell and I used those chargers at the truck stop a couple of weeks ago, and they were pretty slick.
So we're hoping to have more of those. Oh, it is powered by EVgo. All right, down at the bottom. I thought I saw EVgo on these somewhere. So yeah, we're looking for more of these at pilot stations in West Virginia. So hopefully we'll see some more of them. All right, so that's the Pilot. Yeah, there's also a Tesla supercharger here, but as I said earlier, this charger isn't open to other EVs. Even though it is a V3 supercharger, it's for some reason it's not open to other EVs at this time. All right. Before I move on, anyone else have any other charging news or questions? Okay. I have just a few news articles like I usually do. I wanted to throw out there, get folks' reaction to. So we saw global EV sales hit a new high. It says, and this is globally, not just the U.S., but it said that we're up 21% from July of last year. And so it's still really strong numbers globally. China, of course, is the big mover in electric vehicle sales, but Europe still sees some good numbers too. U.S. maybe a little flat, but overall still looking pretty strong globally. I don't know how many people saw this headline about the new Chevy Silverado EV, and they managed to do 1,059 miles on a single charge. Now, of course, there's some caveats to that number, and yeah, it's a cool number to put in a headline, but when you read the fine print and what they had to do to get that number, it's not realistic for everyday driving. And when you read the fine print down here, you find out that where was it? Yeah. Speeds of 20 to 25 miles an hour. And it also says they didn't use, it's down here somewhere. Pretty sure they didn't use climate control either. And they had, pump the tires up to 80 psi and some other things to try to coax all the range possible out of it. So it's an interesting stunt, but it's still kind of a stunt because you're not going to get that kind of range in normal driving. And
well, that's the problem. They say that, advertise it, and people they think, oh yeah, you're going to get that. In reality, if you run your AC or your heat and just drive normal, you're going to have a great experience, but you'll never get nothing like that.
And the thing is, the truck's got great range. It's got a 493 mile EPA range, and even that's probably optimistic. You won't get that on an interstate trip, but still, getting 400 plus miles out of that truck, it's still great numbers. I mean, so it's like they shouldn't shy away from showing what the normal everyday person can achieve with the truck. Now, and then obviously if you're towing a trailer or, doing other things, you're not going to get that range either, but still some great miles. I mean, so kudos to GM for such a high range electric, full size electric truck. And then I had an article for Volkswagen. We've seen some other manufacturers do this kind of stuff, not just on electric vehicles, but on other types of vehicles. But it's real common on electric vehicles as well, or becoming more common, is they lock some features behind a subscription. So certain things you can't access on the car unless you pay a monthly subscription, or they reduce the power of the vehicle unless you pay more. So that's what Volkswagen's doing here. They're locking the horsepower down unless you pay extra per month. So I didn't know what anybody have any thoughts on that. Like if you can get a cheaper price on the car, but you have to pay a subscription to access certain features. What's everybody think about that?
That's not real good. I mean, what the heck?
Yeah, I'm not a real fan of that.
No.
Now, I mean, there are some, like even Tesla does some things like where it's a one-time fee, like the car is delivered and you can run it, but then like they make some software features available for a one-time fee, and if you pay that fee, they'll unlock something on the car. But you knew what you were buying at whatever price when you bought it, and if you want to pay to unlock something later, it's a one-time fee. Okay, and that's your choice. But yeah, trying to pay a monthly ongoing subscription that they'll, if you don't pay it, then they're going to take something away from you. Yeah, that's just not real good. All right, I think that is pretty much all I had kind of teed up to kind of talk about this evening. Does anybody else have any items that they want to bring up? News or questions or other things?
Has there been many people take advantage of the off-peak charging?
You're talking about American Electric Power?
Yeah.
I know there was a couple. Somebody in our group actually did it and went through the whole process. And one night they talked about what their experience was.
I've got it.
Okay.
Off-peak charging. I was one of the first ones up in this area around willing to put it in because it was they offered it, but then they didn't know how to do it. So, being a retired master electrician, I helped them get through it, and I got mine installed. But it's great, 25% discount to charge off peak 8 o'clock at night till 6 in the morning during the week, and and then any time on weekends and holidays.
All right, so sounds like it's working out pretty well for you.
Yeah, it's backed up by my solar panels too.
Well, we got a lot of solar people on here. I offset all my electricity with solar and batteries, and Thornton, I know he's got solar as well.
Yep.
I'm not on American Electric Power though, so I'm Potomac Edison, so rules are a little different over here.
They don't offer it, huh?
They don't offer any type of off peak, no.
Mm-hmm.
But as I make more power than I use every year anyway, so it doesn't really matter. I don't pay anything for it.
I pay minimum bill.
What is the minimum AEP bill, just out of curiosity?
About $13 or $14 a month.
Okay. So mine was $5 a month for years, and it went to $6 like last year. So I was just like really upset that it went to $6. So I've been paying $5 a month since 2018. Well, until it went to $6 last year.
That's less than a postage stamp a month.
Yeah, if you've got the roof for it and everything, it works out pretty well.
For those of you all who don't have solar panels, we invested thousands. Those of us who have solar panels invested thousands of dollars for that, and it probably raise our property taxes too. So don't think that this is a free lunch.
Yeah, and if you added it to your homeowner's insurance, it went up a little bit, and all those things. When I added batteries to mine, Tesla Powerwalls, the insurance increase was about the same as the solar panels per year, but they're both added to my homeowner's policy.
Well, I got my property taxes about doubled, and I'm friends with the assessor. She said, "How are you?" I said, "You just doubled my property taxes." And I told her what happened. She said, "Oh, we made a mistake. We over calculated." So then they gave me an exoneration. So my property taxes aren't that much different than they were last year. Very happy to get the exoneration.
Hey, the letter to the governor and DOT you wrote,
Yeah.
were you asking for inclusion or feedback or just please get the chargers installed? What
Pretty
was
much just, I mean, since we were already told that they were going to move forward with it, it was just encouraging them to, yes, keep moving forward with these chargers and the benefits to West Virginia for tourism and economic development. So it was more of a letter of support for continuing that work.
Gotcha.
So what's phase two? We already got the things planned. So what's next after these particular sites? I mean, in your mind, Robert?
Well, let me flip back here and we can show you what they determined based on the surveys and feedback that they got during their planning. All right. So here is their phase two ideas. Let me see. Can you see the full legend down there? Yeah.
Yeah.
So universities and colleges. So they've got several of those, all those around the state parks.
We already had those. It'd be like at Blackwater.
I don't know that every single one has them, and this is probably to upgrade them.
Yeah.
Only the state parks with lodges have them, not every state park.
Oh, and now they don't. They're not free anymore. So now they got the
right.
What is it? Blink.
Blink. Yeah, they've got a OEM that kind of manages them. So this is what they're talking about, adding some, and some of these will be DC fast chargers. Pretty sure they indicated that some of these will. What am I looking for here? Phase two summary of sites. I don't know that this 100 stations, their math doesn't work right here in this table. But it sounds like they're trying to do a couple hundred ports of 50 kilowatt DC fast charging and 400 ports of level 2. So the DC fast charging they're going to put in at these other sites it's not going to be the 150 kilowatt. It's going to be slower, but it'll still be DC fast. Yeah, I know right. They talked about like bus garages in some places and other things that would use DC fast charging that aren't as critical. Like you're not on the interstate trip and you need to stop and recharge and get back on the road. So places that you would probably spend a little more time at, but you still need a reasonably quick charge.
What's the status of the South Charleston bus manufacturing entity that's about a mile from my house?
I have not heard any specific news about them. But I know that a lot of the new EV manufacturers, of course, are struggling a bit, supply chain and tariffs and everything that's changed on them. And some of the federal funding that was going towards supporting those types of manufacturing activities drying up. So it wouldn't surprise me if they're having some challenges. All right, and this phase two stuff, like we said, this stuff's more flexible. It is not as set in stone. This was just what they kind of gathered on feedback about places where people would like to have charging available around the state. So picking up the parks and the college campuses and other locations. And as soon as we get something back from them, once they submit an updated plan and publish that, of course, we'll send out a link to that so everybody can see what the new submission to the feds, what they've got on that.
What deadlines do we have if we want? Are there any deadlines for writing letters to anybody?
Well, the phase one stuff, I mean, so they've told us they're going to apply for it, and they're moving forward with that. And our letter of support was to support them in making those moves and making sure other people were aware of it, like the governor's office and those other cabinet secretaries, so that hopefully there's some more awareness and eyeballs on that, federal money, and encouraging DOT to stick with the program and get that done.
Now, is this all from the Volkswagen settlement?
No. This has nothing to do with the Volkswagen
Oh,
settlement.
that has nothing to do with it. Okay.
This is all from the federal money from the I forget which bill. I don't think it was the bipartisan infrastructure bill. It was the IRA, the Inflation Reduction Act, federal legislation. Well, wait a second. I don't know. I always mix those two up. Which EV programs came out of which? So I may be wrong on that. It's one or the other. It was from the Biden administration.
What did we get out of the Volkswagen settlement? Anything?
Well, there was about $600,000 for EV charging that originally the Secretary of DOT at the time in 2021, I believe, told us that they were going to use it to install fast charging at the Capitol and Tamarack, and of course that never happened. And then NEVI came around and they said, oh, we're not going to spend the Volkswagen money on fast chargers. We're going to use the NEVI money for that, which then got stalled and never hasn't happened yet. The last that we heard about the Dieselgate money from Volkswagen was that they sent part of it to WVU and part of it to Marshall to pay for charging infrastructure on the WVU and Marshall campuses. And I think Marshall has moved forward with that to install some things at Marshall. I am not sure about WVU. But the West Virginia Clean Cities, for those who aren't familiar with that, the West Virginia Clean Cities, that was also a federally funded entity that was within the West Virginia Department of Energy. And that program got moved out of state government and was sent to Marshall. So that is now housed at Marshall. So they're a little more, progressive in, working with the money for electric vehicle charging and other clean cities type objectives.
How many electric vehicles are now registered in West Virginia? Do you know?
Don't have the latest numbers. That was something we used to get from Clean Cities, and because they had the inroads into the DMV to get it as a state agency. But now that they're not in the state, I don't believe they have access to that DMV data any longer. But if they do, I haven't gotten anything from them. And when Kelly Bragg worked for Clean Cities, there was a lot more data sharing.
There was some professor, somebody who was getting our data every year for the number of miles those who have EVs drive. Is that still going on?
That was also Clean Cities, West Virginia Clean Cities. And since that got moved out of state government, that hasn't happened again either.
Because I hadn't gotten an email from you. I was wondering because I hadn't gotten a reminder. I said, is that still going on? So, no.
Yeah, either if it is, they haven't been keeping up with data collection or haven't contacted us for assistance in gathering that data like they did in the past.
Thank you.
Do we have a
Okay.
contact with that group at Marshall?
Yes, we do have the lady's name who's in charge of it at Marshall. I would have to dig that up. And I know Marty and Rick have attended a couple virtual meetings with that group whenever they have meetings, but they're not real frequent. And they have had a couple of meetings, but I haven't really heard that they're doing a whole lot that we're tied into.
Are they
I mean, I
EV
could get
focused or like anything green?
anything green. So yeah, you got hydrogen fuel cells and natural gas powered, and just anything and everything. Electric vehicles are just one of many. So yeah, their focus is split among multiple technologies.
Appreciate it.
But it's called West Virginia Clean Cities. I don't even know if they've got a new website up on Marshall. They might. Marshall might be hosting something for them now. It was everything was in flux for a while because that transition happened real fast. Kelly Bragg retired and it was handed off, and it was kind of up in the air for a bit about how it was going to land. But hopefully we can try to maybe reconnect and get some things going again. All right, we're at 7:36. Any other comments, questions, news articles anyone has they want to share?
When's the next board meeting?
It'll be in the next quarter, so it'll be October.
Okay.
Should be the third Tuesday in October, so 21st, October 21st.
Thank you.
All right, guys. Well, I will not keep you. So we've got this recorded. We can post it on YouTube, and at least let folks hear some of the updates about the NEVI stuff. And if there's nothing else, we can go ahead and sign off early.
Thank you.
All right, thanks.
All right. Thanks, everyone.